Hello, Christ is risen. Indeed he is risen. I'm Father Kevin Long of St. Elias Antiochian Orthodox Church in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Today's Monday, June 10th, 2024, and here are the readings for today. A reading from the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 17, verses 1 through 9. In those days when the apostles had passed through Amphipolis and Apollonia, they came to Thessalonica, where there was a synagogue of the Jews. And Paul went in, as was his custom, and for 3 weeks he argued with them from the Scriptures, explaining and proving that it was necessary for the Christ to suffer and to rise from the dead, saying, "This Jesus, whom I proclaim to you, is the Christ." And some of them were persuaded and joined Paul and Silas, as did a great many of the devout Greeks, and not a few of the leading women. But the Jews were jealous, and taking some wicked fellows of the rabble, they gathered a crowd, set the city in an uproar, and attacked the house of Jason, seeking to bring them out to the people. And when they could not find them, they dragged Jason and some of the brethren before the city authorities, crying, "These men who have turned the world upside down have come here also, and Jason has received them. And they are all acting against the decrees of Caesar, saying that there is another king, Jesus." And the people and the city authorities were disturbed when they heard this. And when they had taken security from Jason and the rest, they let them go. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. John, chapter 11, verses 47 through 54. Let us be attentive. At that time the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered the council and said, "What are we to do? For this man performs many signs. If we let him go on thus, everyone will believe in him, and the Romans will come and destroy both our place and our nation." But one of them, Caiaphas, who was the high priest that year, said to them, "You know nothing at all. You do not understand that it is expedient for you that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation should not perish." He did not say this of his own accord, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus should die for the nation, and not the nation only, but to gather into one the children of God who are scattered abroad. So from that day on they took counsel how to put him to death. Jesus therefore no longer went about openly among the Jews, but went from there to the country near the wilderness, to a town called Ephraim. There he stayed with the disciples. Glory to thee, our God, glory to thee. As I've been saying, the Gospel of John is really all about Jesus having authority over all things. There is no suspense in the Gospel of John. He is the Son of God, and he is coming to save the world. This is the beginning, and this is the end of the Gospel of St. John and his message. However, that does not mean that he is not imperiled while he is here incarnate. And so we see in the Gospel of St. John many references to it saying that it is not his time. His time has not yet come. And then there is a green flag that rises. It is an obscure reference having to do with Jesus encountering Gentiles. But nevertheless, that is the sign that our Lord perceives to say that his hour has come. We're not there right now. Where we are is in the point where Jesus' popularity is so overwhelming that the Pharisees themselves are now afraid because they fear that the people will rise up and will cause trouble because of Jesus and his messianic expectations. The people will rise up and the Romans will come in and will destroy not just those who are rising up, but everybody. The Romans will come and destroy the temple and destroy the nation itself. And we see that some 40 years after our Lord's triumphant resurrection from the dead, a little less than 40, the temple and Jerusalem itself are indeed destroyed by the Romans because they have finally had enough. And they bring down the things that were such a part of the life of Judea at the time of Christ. Caiaphas, the high priest, understands certain prophecies of the Old Testament, and so he says that it is expedient for one man to die for the people, that the whole nation should be saved. That is something that as you read the Gospel of St. John, you should keep in the back of your mind, because it will come up again. Because Caiaphas is the one who says later that Jesus must indeed die, because it is expedient that one person should die for all the people. Now, Caiaphas himself doesn't understand this in terms of the political necessity, or maybe he does understand the political necessity of it, but he doesn't understand the theological implication of what he is saying. Indeed, it is expedient that that one man should die for all people at all times. He didn't think of it that way. He thought he was just saving Judea. But Christ dying, and of course rising from the dead, brings life not just to the people of Judea at the time of Caiaphas, but also to the people all over the world, from the beginning of the world to its very culmination, its very end. Jesus dying on the cross wipes away our enmity with God. Jesus rising from the dead, bringing all those who were dead with him and bringing us together with them into the heavenly kingdom for everlasting life, where we share in his immortality and we become partakers of the divine nature, and we share in that bliss, in that joy, in that light, in that life. Yes, when we get to that point, it is indeed expedient for one person to die for all the people. No, Caiaphas did not understand what he was saying in what he said, but indeed he proves himself to be an unwitting prophet, that indeed Christ does die and bring salvation to all of God's creation. Christ is risen. Indeed, he is risen. Have a great day, and God willing, we'll see you tomorrow.